This week on the show, eBay's rolling out lots of changes and updates that not everyone seems to be getting, at least not all at the same time, and Etsy talks about their trust and safety improvements. What is up, Galaxians? Welcome to episode number 246 of the Galaxy CDs, Rocks, and Flips Reseller Talk podcast. My name is Ryan, and I will be your host as we talk about some updates over at eBay and the kind of haphazard way at which they seem to be rolling out. Etsy gives us an update on some of the things they're doing for trust and safety, and then, as always, in the back end of the show, I will go over some things that I sold here over the last week, and there's some pretty interesting stuff in there, so you'll definitely want to stick around for that. Thank you to everyone who came out on Thursday for the live show. I appreciate everybody that stuck with me through some troubled times there. I'm hoping to get through this show. The audio interface was giving me all kinds of problems on Thursday. I'm hoping it lasts one more day. I've got a new one incoming for next week, so hopefully that situation will not occur again. But wish me luck as I try to get through this. With that having been said, let's get into this reselling news.
News updates.
So I've talked about this on a few occasions over the past couple of months where eBay has rolled out or sent an email out to some sellers, but not others. And there are updates coming that some sellers seem to be receiving and others are not. And it's just a really haphazard process. I don't know why that is the case, but there are several things we're going to go over today that are interesting, sometimes cool and potentially helpful updates, but they are, again, things that not everyone has gotten, at least not yet. So the first thing here, this article is over on E-Commerce Bytes, and as always, I will link to these in the show notes and the video description down below. eBay to update sellers' international shipping settings. This is another one of those where eBay thinks they know better than you. Who you want to exclude from shipping. To be fair, they have their exclusions that are based on the latest USPS data and whatever. So this may, if it works, actually be a good thing. But it is another case where not everybody got it. eBay informed sellers it will be making changes to their international shipping settings. It pointed sellers to its policy page where it appears the changes are related to Section 10 of the policy. Several sellers forwarded us an email that eBay sent on May 7th. I have not received this email. It didn't come to my email. It didn't come to my eBay messages. So I have not seen this at all. I assume it will apply to everyone, but this is another one of those cases where I just don't understand why some folks are getting the message and others are not. eBay, if you're listening, maybe somebody could reach out and appear on the show and explain why that is the case. But the email said, eBay International Shipping will soon manage your excluded shipping locations. We're writing to let you know that starting on June 6th, your eBay International Shipping settings will be updated to automatically manage excluded shipping locations for your listings. This change will help you reach even more buyers on a global scale as your items will be available to locations based on their export eligibility. Our international shipping policy has also been updated to reflect this change. So what they're saying here is, in theory, items that are eligible to ship to particular countries will be allowed to go through based on what eBay decides should go through, not what you may have decided to do. If you'd like to opt out, again, one of those things, they're just automatically opting everybody into this. And if you don't want to participate, you have to take action and opt out. As I said a couple of weeks ago on a policy they did, for my money, that's backwards. This should be opt-in, not opt-out. But in any case, if you'd like to opt out of the change, you can let us know. They said before June 2nd by clicking the link below in the email, which would be helpful if I had received said email, but I did not. You can let me know in the comments below. Did you get this message from eBay? And if so, what do you think? You can also disable this feature after it's been implemented by switching the toggle button at the top of the exclusions page under shipping preferences. Again, and this is just a copy of the message, so there's no actual link here. You can learn more about eBay International Shipping by following the link in this article. eBay may have sent the notification only to a subset of sellers. It's not clear everyone would be impacted. Why? Why would you do this only for some sellers? Is it based on categories? Is it based on how these sellers have their own policies set up. What's the criteria? For me, again, I'm just a guy sitting in my basement. It's the lack of transparency on how some of these decisions are made that gives me pause when I look at something like this and try to decide if that's something that I actually want to participate in. Anyhow, one reader told us they weren't sure of the implications of the change. Sellers might wish to put an entry on their calendar to check their settings on June 6th and the days following to make sure eBay's automatic update goes smoothly. The international shipping program has had problems with excluded locations already, and a lot of countries that should not have been excluded that were excluded. So this makes me really nervous. I'm just to the point where, as I mentioned in the live on Wednesday, I'm about to get my top-rated seller status back internationally because I will have finally shipped enough stuff after the fiasco of the rollout of this program. And now they're going to make a change again, which may impact my listings. So let me know in the comments below. Did you get this message, and what are your plans? What do you intend to do? This article, eBay tries to fix a canceled order problem of its own making. A seller encountered a never-before-seen issue that appears to be an attempt by eBay to avert cancellations requested by buyers who find the same item they just purchased at a lower price. Others responding to the seller's thread believe it may be a new feature that eBay is testing. The seller said immediately after paying, the buyer requested a cancellation. When the seller opened the eBay app to proceed with the cancellation, they encountered a pop-up window which said the buyer was shown a better deal and that the buyer wanted to cancel because they, quote, found a better price, the seller explained. The seller was then given two options: either cancel the sale or refund the buyer the difference and continue with the sale. The seller chose to agree to new terms of sale, and eBay automatically refunded the buyer a portion of the sale. I'm not sure how I feel about that because I don't know which item they found. Is it the same condition? Is it the exact same item? Is it close? Is it nicer? Is it not as nice? What am I giving away money for? Yes, it's a chance to make a sale that otherwise is just going to get canceled. But am I giving away a discount that is probably unnecessary on that item? Let me know again in the comments down below what you think of this. I think it's a nice option. And here is a case where at least they're giving you the option to proceed with the transaction at a discount or to get rid of the transaction altogether by canceling it. But I'm not sure how I feel about that one. Sellers have long complained that eBay's practice of displaying cheaper items to buyers in checkout leads to cancellations over price. And as sellers in the thread pointed out, it's rarely an apples-to-apples comparison, which is what I just talked about. If my book is in better shape than the book that's $1 less, I don't know that I want to sacrifice that dollar to make that sale today if my book is legitimately better. So again, let me know what you think. If this is indeed, the article says, a new feature eBay is rolling out, some sellers might welcome it as an opportunity to hold on to a sale rather than deal with a cancellation, even if it's not the full price they'd expected. For others, of course, it's going to be a deal breaker. Some sellers said they would choose not only to cancel an order, but they would block the buyer from purchasing from them again. I don't know if I'd go quite that far. But yeah, this is not ideal. The original poster did also say that the order they rescued from being canceled would not import into their shipping software. So this is somebody who uses a third party like I do, Pirate Ship. And they believe that the shipping software, the third-party shipping software, saw the item as being canceled or refunded, so it did not import it. They then needed to manually update the sale. I don't know if this would have impacted the eBay shipping labels thing either. This person, again, used third party, something like Pirate Ship, and it registered that item as having been canceled and did not import it. So an eBay moderator responded to the thread saying they've reached out to a few teams to see what info they can get and share this thread with them so they can see if they can get that fixed. So there you go. You want a little more competition over on eBay? Rakuten's Japanese app Rakuma to sell on eBay.com. eBay will give U.S. shoppers the ability to purchase items listed by Japanese sellers through an agreement with Rakuten's Rakuma marketplace app. The companies will test the program by listing products on eBay.com, primarily in the fashion category. I'm sure that is just to start. I have no doubt whatsoever that there will be more to come. eBay and Rakuten will provide Rakuma official shop merchants with support in areas such as international shipping and multilingual customer support, providing a quote-unquote trouble-free experience for the Japanese sellers. Color me skeptical. I'm in a particularly cynical mood today for some reason. Rakuma said it wants to expand customer channels for their official shops by promoting merchants' international sales. Going forward, they will consider launching full-scale services with Rakuma official shops on eBay based on the response of the trial, according to the announcement that came out last Wednesday. As of today, there were only 7 official shop merchants offering fashion products participating in the test. The plan is to expand that number in the future. So if you're in the fashion category, now you're going to be competing with some, potentially, probably some big sellers from Japan on the market. I'm not sure. Of course, it's going to depend on what the shipping is and what the costs are, how price competitive it will be, but it's just one more thing coming at you. Here's another one, an eBay update that not everyone seems to have access to yet. I've seen several people on Instagram show that they have this. I am not one of them. Product research, which was formerly known as Terapeak, is now on mobile. We're excited to provide more powerful data on sold listings to help you determine the fair market value of your items with product research. Formerly Terapeak, on mobile, you can research and list your items directly from your phone or tablet while on the go. We're confident the product research will become your new best friend while sourcing, providing the sales data you need to price and list like a pro. The tool is available in the eBay mobile app on iOS and Android. So here's where I'm at with this. I've talked about this before. I list exclusively from the mobile app. This would be a really, really handy feature for me. As of this morning, as I record this on Saturday, I don't have this feature yet. I went into the Google Play Store to see if there was an update to the eBay app that I had not yet downloaded, and there is not. I'm on what is listed as the current version of the app. So I don't know why this is the case, again, where some sellers seem to have access to this new update and others do not. You would think something that was being pushed through the Google Play Store, everybody would have the same thing at the same time. That does not appear to be the case. I have not looked to see if there's somewhere else I can download the eBay app other than the Play Store to see if there's an updated version, but I do not have this yet. Let me know in the comments below if you do or do not have this feature. This is good news. I think we talked about this way back in the winter seller update, so I'm excited that this is coming. The sooner I get it, the happier I will be, of course. But it's another one of those cases where some sellers got it and some sellers not so much. You can search millions of items for actual sold prices and more. The search results will include easy to understand view of key metrics. They'll provide the following metrics: the actual sold price, including accepted price or best offer listings, average sold price range, percent sold with free shipping, average shipping, and the number of sellers who have sold the product. So pretty much anything you would want to find that's available on the desktop web-based version of what used to be called Terapeak. So very cool. Over time, they say they will add more features such as sell-through rate, additional trend graphs, and active listings. There's some pictures here of what it looks like. Looks really cool in the pictures. Wish I had it on my phone. I'm on one today, folks. I'm on one today. Refine your search and sort by what matters to you. You can search with keywords, UPCs, manufacturer's part numbers, or ISBNs. Again, my constant complaint on ISBNs is that eBay's are horribly inaccurate, but at least they're there and you've got the option. You will be able to search up to 3 years of data. You can remove search results that aren't what you're looking for. You can select to exclude listings. You can sort by what matters to you most. For example, you can sort by highest to lowest price sold, by date sold, most or least recently, or by shipping cost, lowest, highest. You can also view other sold listings to compare items to your own. And then, outstanding, you can use Sell One like this to list your item and pre-populate fields based on what they already have on file. That will, again, it will be helpful. I will caution you, I've talked about this over the last couple of weeks. There's a lot of, again, going back to the ISBN, there's a lot of this information that automatically populates when you use Sell One like this that is not accurate. So it's still going to be important to verify that all of the information that does auto-populate is correct. and accurate, but at least it's going to be there. How to get started. First, to see that you have the most recent, latest version of the eBay app installed. I do, and I still don't have this. Click on Get Started and perform your first search. So apparently there will be a product research banner on the Selling tab of the mobile, and you should be able to do that. Again, let me know in the comments below if you're watching on YouTube if you've got access to that. Cool feature. I'm ready to have it. I'm excited. We talked about this a few episodes ago. eBay had eliminated their monthly chats. They have now finally announced a replacement for that. eBay launches Ask Me About series to replace those monthly chats. They have launched a replacement to those chat sessions where sellers could chat with employees and ask questions, which they ended in January. This new Ask Me About series will kick off next week with eBay's new product research tool as the topic. Hey, that's convenient. I missed the deadline, however, to send in a message for this particular episode. eBay was low-key about announcing the new series, electing not to publish the news on its seller announcement board, but instead pinning a post to the top of the selling section of its discussion boards. The introductory Ask Me About session will feature the eBay product research team to field questions and share their expertise. They did outline instructions on how sellers could participate. You had to submit your questions by May 9th, so I missed it. To reply to the post and submit your questions, this is your chance to get personalized advice straight from the source. Answers will be provided next week. They will compile their responses and provide comprehensive answers to your queries next week. This new series, they said, was designed to bring sellers closer to the heart of eBay's operations and provide you with insider insights that can help you grow your business. They called it an interactive series, but one seller asked not to sound too picky here, but in terms of discussion and conversation, will there be an opportunity for readers to post responses to the comprehensive answers to your queries next week? And again, this is very different than an interactive chat. I know they're trying to build this as interactive and participatory, but this is you're sending them questions and they're getting back to you later. It's still helpful. I'm not trying to be too down on this thing. It's not quite an interactive conversation. I will leave it there. This person said the same. It's not really a dialogue. Otherwise, it's more like an FAQ. If we can only post questions in advance and then read whatever is issued as a response the following week. Again, I'm fine with the plan in general to provide opportunity for people to ask questions at some point and get some sort of answers. I never attended the chat sessions myself because I've just not really had any questions that I felt like I couldn't find the answers to on my own. But for somebody who did, I still feel like the interactive chat was probably a better option than this, but at least it's something. I don't know. I personally do not know anyone who sells on Ruby Lane. And from the looks of this article, there's probably going to be a lot less people selling on that site coming up real soon because they are raising their fees, citing a surge in costs. Antique and collectibles marketplace Ruby Lane is raising selling fees as of June 1st of this year. In a letter sent to sellers, they said they strive to maintain static seller costs in recent years, but current conditions require a, quote, recalibration. It said it saw escalating expenses over the past few years. They said this year alone, we have encountered significant increases, 15% in advertising expenditures, a 24% surge in the costs associated with the collection, reporting, and remittance of sellers' sales tax. I don't know why that would be the case. I don't know why that number would surge that much. That process has not really changed that I'm aware of, so that's a weird one. An 8% rise in insurance premiums and significant investment in cybersecurity to safeguard their platform against the ever-looming threat of cyber attacks. In addition, Ruby Lane said it had been working to address the issue of shops that evade seller service fees and sales tax obligations, which it said impact sellers directly and compromise the integrity and fairness of its marketplace. So here's the kicker. Basically, they're upping the shop fee from $25 to $45, and they're removing what was previously available as a $25 rebate on the fee you got if you listed at least 15 new items a month. So for most people, this fee is going to go from $0 to sell there to $45 a month. That is, I mean, $45, I guess, is, if you're selling a lot of stuff, it's a relatively small amount, but for a lot of sellers, going from no fees whatsoever to $45 is going to be a pretty hefty bite. Most are not getting enough sales, they said, to justify paying this fee. including whoever this writer was. For those on the legacy fee plan, which was available to shop owners before August of 2021, they say, rest assured there will be no alterations to your existing plan. However, if you're not on that legacy plan, those fees are going to go from 25 to 45, which still includes, they say, unlimited items listings and no listing fees. Seller service fee is not changing. It's still 9.9%. And to keep the seller service fee the same, we unfortunately had to eliminate the current rebate for adding items. They're also instituting a new tiered seller service fee for items that exceed $2,500. It'll be 9.9% up to that $2,500, and then 5% on the portion from there to $7,500, and 2.5% on anything over $7,500. Ruby Lane admitted that the cost adjustments aren't ideal. It firmly believes that Ruby Lane continues to offer unparalleled advantages as a curated online platform for selling. So there you go. If I have any listeners that sell or buy on Ruby Lane, let me know in the comments, because like I said, I'm not aware of anyone who does either of those things. Here's a chance to give some feedback to USPS. Oh boy, they're gonna hear some stuff. You can leave feedback about United States Postal Service package scans and postal theft through the USPS Office Inspector General, which is in the process of auditing those two areas of the Postal Service. Accurate package scanning is vital to maintaining trust between online sellers and buyers who keep a close eye on the progress of their deliveries. In fact, an eBay seller recently described how a scanning error last week at the post office impacted the trust between themselves and their buyers. The seller said USPS misscanned all the orders they shipped last Monday, but they hadn't realized it until a buyer reached out asking why their package showed delivered immediately. This is something that has happened to me. I've had things that got marked delivered immediately. I've had other things that I dropped off that literally made it clear across the country without ever receiving a scan as it went through the system. So it looked like the post office had not even taken possession of the item, and 5 days later, it just showed up on the customer's doorstep. So there are still some issues with their process here. This audit began on April 2nd of this year on the new handheld scanners postal carriers are carrying. They're conducting this audit to assess the efforts to prevent and detect internal mail theft. In addition to mail processing errors, that project mitigating internal mail theft kicked off on February 29th, and the results are expected to be released in September. For more information, click on the link in this article. Last bit of news, I covered this real briefly in the live on Thursday. Speaking of which, let me get in here real quick. I'll put this ticker up. There is some programming notes coming across the bottom of your screen. If you're watching on YouTube, I have made some updates to the programming schedule. This show will continue to come out, in theory at least, every Monday for your listening and viewing pleasure. Then on Wednesdays, I will be going live with a Q&A and a quick how-to on anything from setting up shipping to discounts to book terms and so on. So Wednesdays, 11 a.m. Eastern live on YouTube. And then on Friday, I will have my new series, which just started this past week, Messages from the Past. There are 2 episodes of that up that will go up every Friday. Sorry for blocking my face there. Anyway, Etsy, every year they do a report on how they're doing on trust and safety. So their 2023 Trust and Safety Highlights came out this past week. They just published that, and it gave a detailed overview of their policy enforcement efforts. They're proud to say they've made improvements both with their human and automated detection systems, which help more accurately identify items that don't belong on Etsy so they can remove them more quickly. They say in 2023, they removed 2 times as many listings for any policy violations and 4 times as many listings for violating our handmade policy. They don't say how many those are, how many in each of those categories. If I assume it's a pretty hefty number. 4 times is a pretty significant jump, unless it was only 5 listings last year. Then it's not that big a deal. But I'm assuming there were a substantial number of them. So 4 times as many listings removed for violating the handmade policy. They're also trying to protect you from spam and from scams. Human connection is what makes Etsy so special. We want to make sure that connecting and communicating with buyers is safe and productive. We're already in the process of significantly increasing efforts to minimize spam and scam attempts, including via messages. I talked about this Wednesday. There was a real problem. I don't know if it's continued, with people posing as Etsy customer service staff and getting access to sellers' account information and draining their accounts. So hopefully they've figured this out and got this under control. They also note they're providing more education and resources to help you protect your shops both on and off Etsy. So they are also aware that a lot of this is user error, people clicking links and trusting things that they probably should not be trusting. So just be aware of that. Use the same kind of common sense that you would use with your regular email with Etsy messages. They're also enhancing seller verification. We've enhanced and expanded their seller verification process for new and existing sellers, including strengthening new shop onboarding. I talked about that a few months ago, that they are really making it difficult to set up a shop now on Etsy. You've got to want to do it. There are some extra steps involved that you've got to go through. So they're also evolving their policies. They're evaluating things to protect the community from harm, ensure they're aligned with industry standards, and to increase clarity around what you can and cannot sell on Etsy. They do plan this year to review and update policies in adult content, hate, violence, and off-platform transactions. So we'll be on the lookout for that as those things are updated and changed. I will, of course, report them to you as quickly as possible. Further expansion of non-handmade enforcement. This has been a big bugaboo for a lot of folks. Removing and reducing the visibility of items that don't belong on Etsy continues to be a top priority. We know it's important to you too. In 2024, we plan to further expand enforcement of our handmade policy, including categorizing the policy so it's more clear what can and can't be sold. We also know it's frustrating for both buyers and sellers when they see listings on Etsy that may not follow the policy. So they say they're holding themselves accountable by tracking and reducing how often a buyer comes across those items. There is a link to the full report in this article if you'd like to go read all of that information. So good on them for making a good faith effort to make their marketplace better for everyone. That, my friends, is the reselling news. And now let's get into this What Sold. It wasn't a super busy week last week. I think it was 86 listings sold. If you're following me over on Instagram on my Saturday update, I think I posted it was 86 sold. That sounds right to me. Really good week on Etsy in terms of dollar volume. It was almost 30% of my gross sales in dollar volume were on Etsy for the week. So really good week over there. eBay was a little bit soft, but all in all, no complaints. This first item, Pages Ohio Revised Code, annotated Title 21, courts from 1990s, was an update and a supplement. This is one of those big law firm legal books. My brother runs, I've talked about it before, a warehouse in kind of north of the Dayton area, and they had skids of these books. We decided to try to list and sell some of them. I listed maybe 40 or 50 of them just to get a feel for what they would do. And this is the second one that is sold in 18 months. To say it was not a big success would be an understatement. They were free to him and they were free to me. So cost of goods sold is $0. This thing sold on eBay for $21.24 on a offer I sent out. Nice big books. They're just old and kind of outdated. And despite being in really good condition, they're just not ones that it seems like people were interested in. First of the sales over on Etsy. I will probably butcher this, but Al-Mawrid Al-Wasit, Concise Dictionary, English to Arabic and Arabic to English. This was a hardcover multilingual dictionary from 1997. I mentioned months and months ago that I'd picked up a bunch of English and Arabic books at an estate sale for a couple of bucks a piece. This is one of those. This sold for $23.99 plus media mail shipping over on Etsy. This was an interesting book. This was part of the big 15,000 book lot, so I'm into this for less than less than 4 cents, I think. Tides of Commerce, First Hawaiian Bank, 125th Anniversary. This was written by Edward Justing, an illustrated hardcover that covered the history of the first bank that opened in Hawaii. Really unusual piece, hardcover with some really cool old photos. Neat old book. I had this listed, I think, for $27.99. Sent out an offer, and it sold for $24.74. Not a bad flip from less than a nickel. Another book over on Etsy, Thoughts from the Mount of Blessing by Ellen G. White. This is a 1943 printing by Pacific Press. Was a hardcover. Again, this was part of the big lot that I bought of kind of Seventh-day Adventist books and pamphlets several months ago. I was into this book for $1 thin. It sold for $24.99. The astute of you may recognize this item. Prayer is the Answer, Meaning of the Sacraments by Joseph Murphy from 1957, second edition, hardcover in its dust jacket. I sold this book maybe 3 weeks ago. It was in one of these episodes. I had sold this on Etsy, and the buyer was in Australia. And as it turned out, they did not provide in their shipping information their complete legal name. So I shipped this thing off based on the information they had provided, and the United States Postal Service rejected it for customs violations because the buyer did not provide their full legal name. So this item was returned to me. The customer wanted a full refund. I contacted Etsy and I said, I've already offered a partial refund, but I'm not refunding $37 in international shipping, when the error in question was the customers. They did not provide me with enough information, and I sent it based on what they did. I'm not paying it. And to their credit, Etsy supported me in that. They said I was within my rights to offer a partial refund on that. But in this particular case, for customer satisfaction purposes, they would reimburse me for the shipping costs so that I could provide a full refund to the customer. So that's what happened with that. I got the item back. I relisted it for, I believe, $29.99 or best offer. I received an offer on eBay this time in the US. So no international shipping shenanigans on this one, for $25. And it is hopefully in its new home and not coming back to me this time. These items are also from my brother's warehouse. There was a whole bunch of 1960s and 70s era original NASA photographs of the moon missions and Skylab and all that stuff from the late 60s and early 70s. I had one customer that purchased 2 of these: NASA Apollo 9, An Open Door to Space, and NASA Apollo 17, Schmidt stands beside a huge split boulder on the moon. One of these was an 11 by 14. The other was an 8 by 10 color photo. These were really cool. I half wish I had kept them. I'm into all this kind of stuff. I should have just kept these really cool old photos. One sold for $13.59, the other for $12.74, so $26 odd. My deal with my brother is he gets 25% of the net profit, so the cost of goods sold on these was about $2 by the time it was all said and done. Back over to Etsy, The Wind and the Willows, Kenneth Graham, illustrated by Arthur Rackham. This is a 1970s printing, hardcover in its dust jacket. Dust jacket was a little rough, but this is a particularly hard version of this book to find. It was something I picked up at an estate sale for $1. It sold for $29.99 plus shipping. Once again, as I said, it was a really good week on Etsy. Western College for Women, Multifaria, yearbook from 1963 from Oxford, Ohio. This actually shipped to someone in Oxford, Ohio, which is right up the road here. This was part of a big lot of yearbooks that I bought for $2 a piece. This went for $34.99 plus shipping. Cool old 1930s era Western, Lone Star Law, a Jim Hatfield, Texas Ranger story by Jackson Cole, was published in 1939. It was an ex-library edition, hardcover in its dust jacket. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see the dust jacket is pretty ragged looking. In addition, the dust jacket had been glued to the cover of the book, so it was not removable, but a really unusual old piece. I had it listed for $49.99. I sent out an offer with a discount, and it sold for $42.49. This was also part of that big book lot, so into this for less than a nickel. More Etsy. I talked about, I just recently bought 1,000 books from an estate through the estate's attorney. And there were a whole bunch of vintage poetry books by a writer named Gwen Frostick. Really wonderful books. Woodcut print art and poetry. Really, really nice. There were tons of these in this house. They range in value anywhere from about $10 to about $20 a piece. Here is a case where I had a buyer on Etsy that bought 3 of these books. Contemplate, a first edition from 1973. These things are ours from 1960. And To Those Who See from 1965. Again, 3 books from the poet and artist Gwen Frostick from Benzonia, Michigan. These were published on by Presscraft Papers. If you come across these and you can get them for $1 or $2, they're definitely worth picking up. These 3, after a discount, totaled $43.97. I purchased these for 50 cents a piece, so $1.50. This was also from, I talked about a couple of weeks ago on the Saturday, I went to an estate sale that I was not planning on going to, and I bought 167 books for $150, so about 90 cents a piece. Basic Shorthand Dictation, a student's workbook by Edwin Reimer from 1945. This was a first edition paperback, literally what it says. It's a workbook that had not been completed, not been filled out, had a name written at the top of it on the cover, but other than that, it was in really, really nice shape. I couldn't find anything on this. I may have priced it too low. I priced it at $44.99 or best offer, and it sold within 24 hours. So from 90 cents to $44.99, I'll take it, but I maybe should have priced this one a little higher. First sale for the week over on Mercari. Dying into Life, The Yoga of Death. This was a paperback that I picked up in a lot of Eastern religions and yoga books at an estate sale probably 6 months ago. This was one where I was able to do a pre-sale pick. I was invited by the estate seller to go into the home and buy whatever I wanted before the sale was officially open. Bought this for $1, sold for $45 with free shipping on Mercari. Another old book from the estate sale that I owned for 90 cents, The Chemical Formulary, Volume 1. It was edited by H. Bennett, published in 1933 by the Chemical Publishing Company. This sold for $69.99. There were some listed at a little bit higher price, $72, $74, a couple of them in the 90s. Mine was in a little bit poorer condition. To go back to what we were talking about earlier with the kind of the discount where someone is trying to cancel something because they found something cheaper. This person found something cheaper. It was mine, and I sold it for $69.99 from 90 cents. But because it was a little rougher, I didn't try to break the bank with this thing. I priced it what I thought was competitively and sold it within a couple of days. Another old book I had picked up a big lot of. You would not necessarily think these would be big money, but books about tractors. I was at an estate sale, and the guy had all kinds of like miniature tractors and die-cast tractors. Not my thing, and they were fairly expensive. I think there's some money to be made in those, but it was just not in my wheelhouse. But he had all these old books about tractors. This one was from 2000. It's the Alice Chalmers Tractors, first edition, Ultimate Tribute, hardcover with its dust jacket, illustrated book, nice big like coffee table type book. I had this listed for $85 over on Mercari. I got an offer. I think it was for $65. I countered at $73 and they bought it. I own it for $1, $73 with free shipping. I've had this listed on Mercari for a long time, but it still went fee-free to me. So I got the $73. I only had to pay the shipping on this. So nice flip. Old tractor books. They're worth taking a look at. And here's your flip of the week. This one was pretty wild. So anybody who's into books or into Stephen King knows about the Richard Bachman story. So Stephen King wrote books under the name Bachman back in the day. And this is a collection of those from that time. The Bachman books, 4 early novels by Stephen King, was published in 1985. This was a book club edition, so not as valuable as the regular edition. My understanding is of the original first pressing of these books, There's only about 15,000 of them in circulation, and they're pretty hard to find. But as soon as I saw this at a garage sale, I was like, oh yeah, I'm buying that. It was in a box. I was on my way out. I hadn't seen anything I wanted. I'm getting ready to leave. I'm walking down the driveway, and I see a box under a table. And I'm like, oh, hey, there's some books in there. I'm going to look at that. And of course, this book is sitting there. The box says all books 50 cents a piece. And as soon as I saw this, I was like, that's a winner. I'm picking this thing up. So 50 cents. I put this thing at an auction starting at $29.99, and it went all the way to $105.04. This sold to someone over in Germany on the international shipping program that we just talked about at the opening of the show. So that is a really nice flip. If you find any of these Bachman books, they're gold. They're absolute gold. So this is the first time I've actually come across one, and from 50 cents to $105 plus shipping, I will take that every day. So let me know. And miraculously, I got through this whole show, knock wood, without my interface dying. So that's good news. As always, thank you for spending a little bit of your time with me. Remember, it's been running across the ticker now for 30 minutes. This show will appear every Monday. I will go live every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern to answer your questions and do a brief tutorial. And then on Fridays, we'll have the new series, Messages from the Past, readings of old postcards and yearbooks. Thanks for spending a little bit of time. If you got something out of this, if you could do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button, I would appreciate it. If you're not currently a subscriber, and I know about 65% of you are not, from when I look at my stats. So if you're not currently a subscriber, hey, consider doing that. I would appreciate it. I appreciate you either way, whether you subscribe or not, but I would like that if you would do that for me. If you're not a follower of the podcast, over there you can do that as well. And please feel free to share this with anyone else that you think might find some value in it. With that, I hope you have a great week. We'll see you on Wednesday. You have been listening to the Galaxy CDs Rocks and Flips Reseller Talk podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will catch you again next time.